letter carriers say they've been working for more than 500 days without a contract, and today they made their voices heard on the streets of
USPS failed to protect Eugene Gates and others.
Can't take it no more.
Mail carrier robbed at gunpoint.
Yes, are targeting these mail carriers for their universal keys.
Nearly 1,200 reported attacks and other assaults on postal workers just last year alone.
Welcome to the Next Generation Carriers podcast. This is a disclaimer. Next Generation Carriers and guests are individual union members speaking in a personal capacity, and they do not represent the views of the NALC, the United States Postal Service, or any other entity that is spoken on this program. Tonight is a special episode. Mike Cariff, the NBA business agent out of Region 3 of Illinois, is joining us. He is only able to stay with us for 20 to 25 minutes. He is currently in an airport bathroom. I'm going to introduce my other co-host, Chris in Capone, and then we'll let Cariff take over. Thank you.
You should have went bunker underground. Mike Cariff from a hidden bunker underground.
With his biker jacket on. Yeah.
My name is James Capone, letter carrier for 18 years, branch president of branch 764 in Dedham, Massachusetts.
Chris Sampieri, 9-year letter carrier, branch 18, legislative political director. And my middle name, I go by McItaly because no one can pronounce my last name.
Awesome.
All right, and we got Mike Cariff here. So, Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about the recent news and upgoings in the post office and union?
Yep, I'm going to get right to that, but I figure I might well take the opportunity to let you guys know that my comedy roast is this Saturday. I see you guys have started a little early, and that's just fine. But we're going to have a good time. We're going to live stream it, so if you guys want to watch it, it's $20.26. It goes toward the campaign. Hopefully, it's trying times, but hopefully everyone can afford that. But anyway, I wanted to come on. I appreciate the invitation, you guys. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a perspective on what's going on and, see what questions people have. It's a short time frame because I have an executive council meeting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I assume the meeting is going to be to discuss what President Trump put out today regarding federal agencies, which, from what I heard of it, which was just now, it doesn't sound like it will affect us directly. But of course, the president has us in his sights, and that, anything that he's going to do is going to affect us one way or another. So the Postmaster General put out a notice, a video for all employees earlier this week. You guys should go listen to it. It announces his retirement, of course, but then he talks about how, since 1970, there's been changes to the Postal Service, and you're talking about, 2006, 2022, different reforms and things throughout the years. And then he said, we plan to be involved in this round of change, whatever that's going to look like. And, I don't know if we want that. We're talking about the leadership of the Postal Service and Postal Service management, who has, for all intents and purposes, really run this thing into the ground. There was a time when the letter carrier was very well respected. When, we got out there and we're chanting first class service, first class pay. And, some people are like, first class service, really? Where's that at? But not only have they denigrated the service standards, but they just don't give a shit if people get their mail. And every managerial decision that they make is to promote themselves and not to promote the service to the American people, which is what we're in business for. So there's way too many supervisors. There's over management of letter carriers. And, as we go through this process, it's not going to happen overnight. But as we go through this process, I don't know if we want postal management being the ones that are driving whatever change is going to come to the post office structure. Of course, if they follow through, the threat that the Trump administration, and I don't know, and I wouldn't speculate. And, I heard Corey Walton's recent podcast, and he's like, hey, let's wait to see what happens. I think we got to do both. I think we got to be leery of what may come. But he's right in the sense that we don't know exactly what form it will take, and don't assume. But if you dissolve the, the board of governors, the governance of the postal service, who do we have to negotiate a contract with? How do we function as a union in that type of environment? If we fall under the Commerce Department, that means we fall under the government, under the U.S. government. And of course, we file a suit. We say that's illegal, this and that. But in the meantime, that government entity, the Commerce Department, is going to start making decisions. And if some of those decisions are to sell off real estate, to sell off machines, to sell off vehicles, whatever, you don't know where those decisions could lead. If that stuff is taken, if it dismantles the Postal Service, that's going to be hard to put that back together again once you win that lawsuit or whatever. So I think that if you look at the history that Donald Trump has prior to being a president and in his personal life, he believes in, doing what he's going to do and, kind of fuck you, sue me kind of attitude. That's kind of you can look at it as a long history of litigation. And, he's like, hey, we'll let the lawyers figure it out. So it's a real danger. It's when President Renfro says we're in an existential crisis, I believe that. We're in a fight for our very existence. And then you get into the next part, which is that we still don't have a damn contract. And that's the most frustrating thing because, in the summer of 2023, we had all the leverage. And President Renfro himself was running around the country telling everyone that we had all the leverage. We just today submitted some audio and some transcripts because we have the charges pending against President Renfro, myself and thousands of you guys, charges against him for possible negligence in the way he handled the contract negotiations. And at this point, I mean, it's very apparent that it was a mistake not to take us to arbitration back in the summer of 2023 when we had better leverage. But we pulled up some of the audio, and it's like, that's what he was saying. He was saying we had good leverage, and he was saying that the post office didn't want us to go to arbitration. And, anyway, so we're in the situation we're in right now. I do support the president. He is our president in this fight to save our livelihood. But at the same time, he needs to understand that the membership voted down that tentative agreement overwhelmingly in an unprecedented fashion. We do not want that tentative agreement. I don't see any reason why we should agree to any of the terms that are non-economic. Let the terms of the current contract remain in effect. Why would we want to agree to any of that stuff that the members voted down? You can't differentiate between what was positive and negative and what the members voted down, what they wanted, what they didn't want. We voted down the whole TA. So let's just start all over. We have the current contract language. What we need is the damn raise. So let's focus on the things that are important. Getting a raise, making sure our starting pay is higher than what the clerks are making right now, which is $27.28. It's got to be at least $28 an hour starting pay for career letter carriers. The all-career model should be implemented across the country. The non-career workforce just does not work for city letter carriers. It hasn't been working for a while now. There's a lot of evidence of that we can present to an arbitrator in whatever form it is, whether it's a mediation, whether it's expedited arbitration, or whether you have hearings for 1,000,000 days. I support the president in saying that, hey, it might be to our advantage to do an expedited process. If that's what he wants to do, I'm fine with that, but our goals are still the same. Our goals have to be leaving the contract language in effect, that's in the current contract, eliminating the non-career workforce and getting substantial raises, starting with a much higher starting pay. And then from there, you're talking about raises at every step that keep up with the rate of inflation since 2019. And that rate of inflation is 24% since 2019 up until the present. That's a 24% rate of inflation. So I want to say, let's look at what the rate of pay in 2019 was in September 2019 at the start of this current contract that we're working under, the 2019 to 2023 contract. Let's look at what that number was, and let's make sure that we're at least getting a 24% raise from that number to today, and then going forward from there. And then, next time, once this thing stabilizes, and hopefully we'll be able to win these fights, it's a pleasure to see the entire membership activated. I was proud to be there on Monday for the rally outside of NALC headquarters, close to the Capitol. I participated today. I called my congressman's office, Chuy Garcia in Chicago, talked to a woman named Sol, one of his staffers, let them know, this is a very important issue for letter carriers, and make sure that the congressman is signing on to the H Resolution 70, the anti-privatization resolution, and that the congressman is, paying attention to what's going on with the Postal Service in case we need Congress to act and to protect the interests of the American people, which the interest of the American people is to have universal service, to have a live letter carrier going to every home and business 6 days a week at the minimum, if not 7 days a week. So we're out there, glad to see everyone activated and fighting for our cause. And that's where we're at. That's the update I have. And I don't know how much time I have left because I don't have a clock on me, but whatever time I got left, I can take some questions, I think.
Yeah, Mike, I got a question. A good one from President Greg Smolik on 334. This is his question. Mike, there is a fear that we will rush through this expedited process and then have Trump not do anything, and we will end up getting a worse deal because the process was rushed. What do you think?
Well, I think that our issues are not that complicated. So, there's this whole concern that the Postal Service is going to want to present their whole economic situation. And I believe under the law, it's irrelevant. The law doesn't say what their economic situation is, that's relevant. So let's say they agree to not put that on, right? And we're just going to put on what would be pay comparable to those in the private sector. Let's look at what UPS drivers are making. Let's compare that to us, and let's put that in front of the arbitrator. Let's talk about the non-career workforce and how it doesn't work and how the post office has employed this all-career model across the country. And that's something that can be employed in every post office in the new contract. And the other terms, I didn't see no one clamoring for all these changes in Article 8 and some of these other memorandums. And we certainly, if they're not going to put the memorandum regarding eliminating our office time in front of the arbitrator, we're good with that, So I'm not so sure we can't accomplish what we want to accomplish in an expedited process. And I'm also not so sure that President Renfro is not correct, that it's in our interest to get a contract. It's much better to have a contract than not have a contract because you don't know what the future brings. So if we can accomplish our goals through an expedited process, then I support that. But, just so you guys know, it's wholly under the discretion of the president to make that decision. So that's not really something we have a say-so in one way or another. Obviously, I have been talking with him and I will continue to talk with him. And as many members of the union want to keep talking with him. And obviously, if you have strong opinions, I think Brother James Henry said this when he was on Corey's podcast. If you have opinions and things like that, make them known. Make them known to your president. But the process itself, I'm not against the expedited format in and of itself.
Yep, we got another follow-up question there too. Arbitration dates. Do we have a date that we're looking at, and is Nolan available any of those times?
I spoke with President Renfro Monday at the rally. He didn't indicate that they had dates yet. He was trying to we were going over what the process might look like. He said it may be some type of hybrid between a mediation and an arbitration type of process. He did not mention dates yet. Like I said, we do have executive council meeting tonight. Maybe we'll get more information, or maybe the president will release that information directly to the members.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? So I was just looking up the start of pay for Step A in August 31st of 2019, and it was $52,844. That was August 34th. Right now, it's going up to $62,078. Chris is going to do for the inflation real fast because I'm crap at math. But I wanted to give you that number.
Yeah, it should be about. You said it was at 52?
52844.
So it should be at least 65 then, I think, with the 24% rate of inflation.
So we're losing about $3,000 or $4,000 off that, just that first Step A.
Yeah, that's the calculation. That's the calculation that Brother Noble made. He said 3,000 and something, across the board. I don't know if when I did the math, I didn't get to that number exactly, but anyway, it's. The terms of the tentative agreement did not keep up with the rate of inflation. And that to me is a huge problem. I mean, we were deemed, pay cut. Yeah, and we were deemed essential. The job is harder. There's safety issues out there. They're attacking us for all different kind of reasons. We're on the street longer. That wasn't the last pandemic. There's going to be something else. Wars and, natural disasters and whatever it is, we're out there, right? We're essential. We bind America together. And for the pay raises to not even keep up with the rate of inflation after all that transpired and looking forward of what the value of our job is, that's unacceptable.
Was there any talk or pushing? I know a lot of this contract negotiation is held to him and the post office, but in regards to coming out of COVID, we were heroes. And why wouldn't you hit when the iron's hot, including the fact that I believe it was 2021, the post office showed profit that year. When we first had the ability to negotiate the contract. So we're coming out of COVID where we're heroes. We make a profit. Wouldn't that be the time to say, all right, this is what we want. Well, we can't give it to you. Well, F you, we're going to arbitration because we have all these things and we let all those things pass.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, the report of the investigator, Matty Rose, regarding the charges is pending. Probably this week or early next week will come out. And then we're going to have to determine if those charges are substantial, the members of the executive council. But I really want to get into that hearing mode and ask President Renfro the same question you just asked him. Why didn't we go to arbitration when we had all the leverage, when we had the best opportunity to get the best contract for letter carriers? Is that not negligence, the fact that you sat on that thing for 15 months or whatever that time frame was? I mean, it certainly looks bad now. It certainly looks like a mistake now. Was it negligence? I think you need more information to determine that. So if the charges are deemed to be substantial, we'll have hearings and we'll figure that out.
Is National still moving forward with March 25th?
Yeah, so that was my motion that we had that march on Washington, 1.3 miles. And I encourage everyone, people want to have their own marches in their cities, and they should. I would do that 1.3 mile march. And if it was me planning the march in my city or whatever, I'd still do that 1.3 mile march to make sure that everyone knows that, hey, this is still about us getting a good contract, because you want to save the Postal Service, but you want the Postal Service to reflect a good job, and you want it to be reflective of us playing that role, that important role in the community. And if people don't see this as a career job, if people coming out of the military don't want this damn job, and people that want to serve don't see this as a calling, and people are not willing to put the sacrifice into your body and the physicality and everything like that, then we're not going to be able to provide that service to the American people. So it goes hand in hand. That service that we provide and that good contract, to me, go hand in hand. And we're having these rallies to engage the public and get them on our side. I'd march 1.3 miles, even if it's around in a damn circle or around a building, 1.3 miles. But I'd make that part of it. But I know a lot of branches and local, metropolitan areas want to do something on March 23rd because March 23rd is a Sunday. You can get more participation. But that motion to have that march on Washington, March 25th, that was, the motion was approved by the NALC Executive Council, the decision-making body of the NALC. So I haven't seen, anything come out of NALC headquarters that, this is the time it's going to start, et cetera, et cetera. But it is the policy of the NALC that we're going to have a march on Washington, March 25th. I plan to be there. I hope everyone that can will come out. And we're going to march from NALC headquarters to USPS headquarters.
Cool.
Now, Mike, with the NALC really pumping up their efforts local through social media and these campaigns in the past 2 weeks, do you feel like they should have been doing it all along, and them not doing it all along and doing it now? What does that say to you?
Doing what all along? You talking about the
social
fighting
media
for a good contract or
wanting to hold rallies?
The engagement,
like
that?
all on social media. There's constant videos. There's constant fight like hell rallies. They're promoting the shit out of it in the past 2 weeks. Why weren't they doing it all along? And the fact that they didn't, what does that say?
I don't know. I'm just going to say I'm glad that President Renfro and our operation at NALC headquarters is on board with what the membership has been on board with for the last 2 years, which is let's engage the membership and let's get the public on our side and let's utilize all our resources to try to do that. And I'm glad he's doing it now. But, I don't want to speculate on anything else other than, hallelujah, brother. Come on, let's do it.
I got a quick question. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
You guys got to watch the time.
I'm down here in Florida.
I got like 3 minutes.
All right, I'm down here in
Okay.
Florida. I find it a pressing issue. A lot of people don't find the concern of us merging with the House committees as a serious threat. Can you
With the Commerce
explain?
Department?
Yeah, whatever that
Yeah,
whole thing
with
is.
the
Yeah, so
billionaire at the
I've been
head of
busy.
it.
I've been busy for a couple of days lately, so I haven't really had my brain settled.
Well,
But yeah,
man, so right, we earned the right. We went on strike in 1970. We earned the right to have collective bargaining to set up this structure in the Postal Reorganization Act, the law of 1970 in August. They set up that structure so that we would have an employer that we can bargain with, the United States Postal Service. If it goes back to the U.S. government, I mean, the Commerce Department is a cabinet level position, just like the Postmaster General used to be a cabinet level position. And one, what does that say about our contracts with the United States Postal Service if the Postal Service is not who we're negotiating with anymore? And then two, we have to go back to the collective begging where we got to lobby Congress for pay raise and this and that. So it really just puts everything up in the air, and it would be illegal. So I would be concerned about it. Absolutely.
And awesome. And I got one more quick question here from Harmon Bardwell. Renfro said that the executive council all voted for this. Is it true that everybody voted yes?
Voted for what?
Expedited arbitration?
No, President Renfro said that one person voted no, and he said he spoke to that person and that person told him that he was voting no because the president already had the right to use expedited arbitration or regular arbitration or whatever. That person was Chris Jackson. I talked to Chris a couple of days ago because people have been asking me who was the one. It wasn't me, it was me. I tell you guys, but it was Chris Jackson. He was like, if you want to tell people it was me, that's fine. Because people keep asking me who was the one, and I'm like, well, I don't want to say how someone else voted, but he told me that was fine. I can tell you guys that he was the one that voted no, and that was his reasoning. Anyway, I voted yes because, like I explained before, I don't think it's a bad idea, and if that's what the president wants to do, it doesn't mean that you can negotiate a worse contract for us. It just means if you think this is the best way to get us a good contract sooner, then by all means, go right ahead. So,
all right.
Would you have voted yes if you knew he was only planning on going on the financial aspect and not the work things?
Like I said, I only want him to go on the economic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The work rules can remain the same. We do not have to change. We don't have to implement any of that language in the TA. We don't have to.
Yes, but
it's a rejected tentative agreement.
So but if he's only going after the financial aspects, that means what we are offered as a TA is the plan to go through with the 12 and 60.
I don't think that's what that means.
Okay,
I don't know what's in his head. But think about it. If you don't have a tentative agreement, if it's voted down, you don't have a tentative agreement. What do you have? What you have is the 2019 to 2023 contract. That's what we have. That's the starting place. So if you're not going to spend time going over these work rule or non-economic issues, I'm fine with that. Let's just leave it alone just the way it is. I don't think anyone was clamoring for all those changes in the first place.
Okay, so I think a lot of people have been taking it as the stuff that they're not negotiating says we're all agreeing to it, and they're just choosing these parts to negotiate. So you're saying it's the opposite way around. We would go by the old agreement with the financial changes, not just accept the new TA that they sent out.
I'm saying that's the approach we should take, whether it's expedited arbitration or regular arbitration, because the members voted down the TA. I can't speak for the president. I don't know what's in his mind, but I suggest everyone make their opinion known to the president. If that's, if you agree with me and that's what you want, we need to make sure the president understands that.
Okay.
All right. Wow, that's something to think about. All right. I think it's 7:56. Do you have to catch your flight? Because I know you said
I got to get on the other meeting. Meeting, so yeah.
Okay. All right. Mike, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you back maybe in a couple of weeks or a month or whenever you want to come on. It's always available.
Or maybe this weekend or whatever.
Or wait, what was the thing? Did you want to plug something? Is something going on?
I do want to plug the roast. We're trying to get fundraising for the campaign off the ground. We're trying to do it in a fun way. So they're going to roast me. I think the kids are going to come out and roast me. They said maybe the ex-wives. I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but they're lined up. They got some good jokes, and that's okay because they say I get in at the end. So we'll see we'll see how this thing goes. We're going to have a good time. If you guys want to watch it, you can live stream. If you're in the Chicago area, come on down to 3850 South Wabash at 7 p.m. on Saturday night.
All
So
right,
real
awesome.
quick, Mike, did you write down any jokes to say to about people, or are you doing this off the cuff?
I'll probably take some notes while I'm up there on the like dais thing. I don't know,
Oh, and
man.
you're gonna go on. All right, all right.
Hey, hey, I'm hilarious. I don't need to take notes.
You are. You're a very funny man.
All right.
Now, I'll probably need to prepare. I'll probably need to prepare for this.
Got a couple in there.
All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. All right, you guys.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
you,
Mike.
everyone.
Appreciate
Everyone be
it.
safe. Yep, thank
All
you.
right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right, so that was it. Yeah, so in case you were coming in, he did have to go to a meeting. We thought we'd have a little bit more time with him. Unfortunately, that's all we got. So, yeah.
That was really interesting in regards to what he was saying about the negotiations of the contract.
I didn't.
I
Yeah,
don't
that
think
blew
that's
my
been
mind.
explained.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
because
never
we
understood
never,
that
it's not an
point.
existing rule. It's only a proposal. We rejected it. So it's not like we have to fight to change what never was. I
Yeah,
think that's,
but
I didn't think of it that way. That's,
But he's saying we kind of got to get that out, that that's what we want, so that they
Yeah.
don't try
think
to just
Renfro
go
would-
along with taking the TA. That's the way I understood what he was just saying.
right. We gave Renfro 3 goddamn hours to maybe explain
Throw
that
one
what
out there
Mike
at
did in
least.
10
That would have
seconds.
been nice. What
Yeah,
about you,
that would have
Paul?
been
Is that
good.
the way you heard it? The way you understand it?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I was kind of surprised too, but this is kind of what we want. We want the work rules to not change. We don't want the rules made behind closed doors. And I think you're right. If Renfro doesn't get direction, he might just do that. So we do need to communicate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had the opportunity to ask Mike one question because, John, I wanted you and I vindicated that those damn freaking fixed office times were a concession. We still haven't heard that from his mouth yet,
Well, there were no concessions. What are you talking about?
Oh no, 33 minutes to 20 minutes. That's not
what concessions?
No,
Jesus.
no. But
Oh my God.
we'll get
All
that
right.
somehow, some way.
Yep. All right, so that was good. Cool. I was impressed by that. So,
Does anyone, before we end this, there's 63 people in the Zoom. This was supposed to be 1 hour, but as people that are in the Zoom just witnessed, Mike Harif was hanging out in the airport bathroom doing this interview because he was in between flights, and the NALC just ordered, and more people are joining. NALC just ordered the executive council to have an emergency meeting, and it's probably in regards to the fact that the Trump administration is directing all federal agencies to promptly begin preparations for large-scale layoffs and restructuring. And they must submit plans for doing so by March 13th. The move could formally clear the way for the administration to begin dismantling or shrinking agencies throughout the federal government. So I assume that's what their emergency meeting was about. Unless maybe we got good news and they just bumped all our pay to $30 an hour starting and we got a new contract.
probably.
But
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well,
All right,
that's the question I really want to answer, because he had mentioned, with the arbitrator, well, we're going to go for half days, 2 hours. The people we're negotiating this week will not be there next week. But my thing is he talking verbally? Like, are we talking about, hey, this is going to take a couple of months to negotiate what we have now? Or is he legit saying the people we're negotiating with today may not be there next week? So let's get this rolling, because, again, we don't know what's going on. Any day now, those guys could be gone. They could walk in and tell Tolino and DeJoy pack up right now.
I kind of hope that we're not going to rush this and take that 1.3 just out of fear. That could happen.
Right.
I'm going to jump in because I've yet to make my real opinion on this. I know, like most people know, I'm only 3 years in, 4 years almost at this point. But the fact that we settled and we're actually not going to fight for a real contract is pretty defeatist when it comes to taking on special interests. It doesn't matter if it's an anti-union employer or Trump or anyone in the White House at this point, right? We should be moving forward, as Karif kind of said. Sure, we could save the Postal Service, but if we save the Postal Service, but we're all minimum wage workers, the service is not going to exist there. We got to make sure we move forward, as we witness now, that we can't even afford to have a good career workforce. So we need to push forward our bold demands. And I don't know if they think it's arbitration or the federal government come after us and terminate stuff. But the fact that they were already making concessions before like we even know anything is alarming, because one of the biggest things is to win anything, win any gains for the labor movement is to be bold. Because if we're bold and we're direct, the non-union workforce will stand behind us. Because if we advocate for broad demands like FMLA, issues that actually benefit the non-unionized workforce, 8-hour day, all these things, they will stand behind us and cheerlead and help us go forward. And with us being the Postal Service, we already have the American public behind us. So anyone that's going forward and defending Renfro, or anyone in the NALC saying, oh, we need to settle this as soon as possible because Trump could terminate it, you're doing Trump's work for us. We need to be bold at this time.
I got a hypothetical for you, John, and guys. What would happen if the news comes out that they're going to shrink our management workforce, and by doing so, they're going to make us in the next 12 months hugely profitable? I mean, we had one profitable quarter. What if they cut our management workforce in half? We're hugely profitable, and we bargained for a 1.3, and we could have got something really reasonable if we had sat it out and, like John said, waited to actually bargain this agreement in full. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah,
so that could happen. I know we're nervous about privatization, but on the other hand, if the expenses are really cut, if they really do shrink management and cut all these EAS employees, we might show a profit. We might be in a good position to negotiate a contract.
Yeah, I mean, like it was said, we're fighting a war on two fronts here.
We are,
and we still need to fight the contract. We cannot just focus everything on this one fight with privatization and leave behind this whole idea of fighting for a good contract. And that's a hell of a battle. Napoleon lost that, fighting a war on two fronts, and we're fighting a war on two fronts, which also involves supporting the guy that we're mad about for the second war. And there's going to be a lot of issues there with people swallowing their pride and also figuring out how do we support it, but also not support the actions that had happened. And where do you go after this battle in regards to that?
I think
just one thing. I just want to share. This is something I'm just going to share a screen here, but this is from 2018, I believe, if we can see it right here. The post, like, you guys can see this? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is from 2018, and this is my concern. This was put out by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, billionaire also. And this is the quote. This is for the podcast. I'll just read it. This is page 60, 2018. Operations. USPS dual labor model combining private sector collective bargaining law with government employee compensation law creates unsustainable labor costs. USPS employee rights should be more closely aligned with other federal employee rights by eliminating collective bargaining over compensation. In the text below, the task force recommends that the Federal Service Labor Management Relations Act be amended to apply to the USPS and its employees and remove USPS compensation from collective bargaining. Doing so would enable the USPS to address the costs and complications with its current labor system, aka they think we get paid too much, and allow for better workforce planning and cost control within its rapidly evolving business model. So,
and that goes along with, there's a lot of speculation of, I didn't get to fully read it, the House Con Resolution 14 in regards to what they're doing in regards to federal employees. Again, I haven't fully read it, so this is just going off of what I read a little.
Right. So the way I understand it, if I read it correctly, it's not like exactly a pay. People go, oh, they're going to cut our pay. Not exactly.
Well, pushing from what I read is from a high 3 to a high 5, which in the end will affect how much you're making. You're dividing up.
Yes. You lose a percent towards your retirement, because I think it's, if you're hired before 2013, what is it, like 0.8% is one figure. 2013 is like 1.3, and all of us after, I think it's like 3.5.
Yeah,
or something.
Someone a higher step like me, I would go from 0.8 to 4.4. But not only that, we go by a high 3 model. The highest pay you make for those 3 years calculates into your retirement.
Right.
They're now doing it amongst 5 years.
Right.
So you think about it. I know a lot of guys in my office are waiting for this contract to get that high 3. They change that. They're working to get that high 3 to then lose it divided by a high 5.
Right.
And that is a huge issue. And losing the Social Security from 57 to 62, where you could take the early Social Security at 57 and get out the door, it's supposedly going back to 62. Again, I haven't fully read this, and from my understanding, it is just a recommendation, and then it goes to, and it gets voted there, and it's all in the beginning planning phases. But I really recommend people read and make sure they know the facts. I got a lot of people say, well, it has no tax on overtime. It has no tax on tips. I've yet to read those things, and I really hope everybody, some of us are union reps out there, some of us are knowledgeable carriers. We're taught to read and learn and make sure you know what you're doing before you attack. We need to understand what these fully mean. But it could be very dangerous.
Go beyond the headlines. That's the thing. Because sometimes people read a quick headline and that's it. So I know. And like, I'm guilty too. I've done it. We've all like scanned a headline that we want and we're like, see, politician X is screwing us. And then it's like, oh no, it's maybe not as bad. But yeah, and that's the thing. I don't want people to get afraid and go, we're being attacked. Let's just settle this as quickly as possible. Let's not read anything. Let's rally around the leader and and granted, keep in mind our contract negotiations start in a year from now, basically, or a year and a few months.
November 2026 was when the last one would have ended. The
right,
TA
so
offer.
Even if it's not a great deal, but I talking to Mike does make me hopeful that I think we do see that if we because technically we didn't agree to shit. The only thing, the only thing we can talk about, if we just want to talk about economics only and that changes and say we do an all career workforce, that's good. I think that's great. I know we're gonna stuck with shitty raises, which is not good. So
the one thing that we did agree to,
I know.
The one thing that we did agree to is that the USPS is broke. Renfro is on record numerous times saying we're broke.
Jesus,
and
idiot.
as Trump has come around saying he wants to create a post office that is not losing money, we should not be surprised that come next year we'll get a pay freeze. That is a realistic option at this point, that we'll get pay freezes to balance the books. And it happened during Obama. Obama did pay freezes across federal workers. So that's something that people should prepare for. And one of the ways to prepare, I would advocate for March 23rd on that Sunday, branches and others start organizing. We need to start flexing our muscles. And most people don't know how to actually organize a rally. The logistics of it is not complicated, but if you've never done it before, it's very intimidating. So if you're listening to this, it is February 26th. March 23rd is less than a month away, and we should be organizing nationwide rallies. And it's not just for the contract. You could frame it as save our services. Bring your membership, bring your branches out in the streets, start flexing your muscles, because if we don't start flexing our muscles now, we're not going to flex our muscles next year. And that's a fact. So I don't know what else we're going to do on this episode. I just got home. I smell like a fucking... I smell
so terrible. Real quick, and this is what it's important. The Obama pay freeze, it didn't affect letter carriers since we were a separate service. However, if we were included in the federal government, it would. These things would affect us. And this is the stuff people really need to keep in mind and watch and really keep themselves knowledgeable. There's a lot going on. And as John said, we really need to organize. We need to pump those letter carrier funds. You need to contact your politicians. I hope everybody did that call-in to your representative. I know I called mine, and most of my office did. And we got to be attacking this in two fronts. I know there's also the NALC has posted something that's directly to the White House, where you fill out a punch-in thing. They have copy and paste the statement. Give that to all your friends and family. Give that to everybody. Try to set up rallies across the country. Renfro said it himself. He would help support rallies. All you have to do is contact your NBA office, and they will get in touch with him, and they will back rallies. Back in October when we were having rallies, they weren't supporting us. They were pretending we weren't around.
Nope.
Now they're supporting us, and we need to all be ready and get on this battle and be ready for this.
Got a comment from the crowd, and this is a feeling that we have here, but this is it. Do you think and this is for all of us here, do we think this the way they dragged it up for 600 days, do you think this was almost a part of a plan to make DeJoy look good? Because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but how do you drag it? I mean, 1.3%, like, because now they posted a profit, a small one, but like that's because we didn't get paid. Like, we haven't gotten a raise. That's how they raised it. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like it's just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Renfro does the work for free for him, but what was the point? Like, I mean, I know he said he was getting a better deal, but I don't, proof's in the pudding.
And you know what? That's another thing. We had talked about the post office being broke. Do we believe the post office is broke? They're making payments to the Treasury. They have countless people, over 100, the 100 top employees are making asinine amounts for some guy to sit in his ass and send us a message in the scanner every single day. They are able to put these videos together. Do we really feel they're broke, or they broke towards us? It's broke. They move that money around. I've never fully believed the financial status of the post office until an investigator goes in there and actually looks and sees what they are doing with their money. And as Paul said, we know they could all cut a lot of postal management. You could have a postmaster. I'm in smaller areas. The next office is 5 miles down the street. Have a postmaster between 2 or 3 offices. Cut down the day supervisor. You got district managers, MPOs, all these guys all the way up, that a lot of them aren't even in the position they're supposed to be in. They're covering for somebody else who's in another position, not doing what he's supposed to do. Send them all back to their jobs, fill out what they do, and let's start cutting the fat on that end of this and see where we're at. And start looking into the finances. You spent $31 million on telematics scanners, telematics to watch vehicles that we are getting rid of because they're catching on fire on their own. The waste is asinine and completely insane. And to say that they're broke when they're just playing a shell game with this damn money, it's not right. It ain't there.
I'll transition real quick. Karif just texted me. Again, I said he had a meeting with the emergency council of the NALC Emergency Council. He just texted me at 8:12 saying it hasn't even started yet. There's 35 other people waiting for the executive council meeting. I just got home. This was supposed to be a Karif like little postal stand-up thing. So I say we open the floor. If anyone wants to jump in and vent, I would gladly listen.
All right, we got up first. So we got Greg on. Just one sec, Greg. So if you want to comment, just use the raise hand, or if you just write stack in the comment section. I'll keep calling you as the way order I see you. So also we are recording this for the podcast, so just heads up on that. And so you do that, can you just mention your name and the local, just so we all know we're all union members here. So Greg, go for it.
Yeah, Greg Samoluk, President, Branch 334. We talked on Sunday with Mike a little bit on the other meeting, but what's really been bothering me the last couple of days, and I want to know your guys' opinion on this. So he told you guys Saturday that he tried to sound a little tough, like I kept up in the or he made an offer of 3%, 4%, 5%, and then they came back with, oh, here's 2.2 billion, figure it out. So if that happened when he came back after his hiatus, what was the delay? Because then he said, figure it out. They move the numbers around. He always talks about how he tries to confuse us. He says, well, the contract works in a linear action or faction, whatever the terminology he likes to use. But if there was that big of a difference in, I'll give him the fall of 23. And then he was down in New Orleans with us a little for a rap session, and he said, "Oh, I'm making progress. I'm making progress." But if they never moved off that number, what was the delay? So in this delay, now that can lead. He opens it up for conspiracy theory that I think Chris just brought up. So were you trying to help your good buddy Brian? Like, what was it? Why did so when I asked him in Providence, the last question he took, Brian, can you explain why it took so long? And his response was, well, I was fighting for every last penny, but you knew that they weren't moving off that 2.2 billion for the payroll. And then for them to say, figure it out. And, that's where he's really coming off as disingenuous with when he was on that podcast with you guys. So I don't know if what you guys think of that. Paul's been around a lot longer than me, what Paul thinks about that, but I thought that was an interesting comment when he said the difference in the offer on Saturday.
And you're right. He mentioned it multiple times, different ways. He had said the 2.2, and then they said 2.8 billion or whatever. But then he said 17 billion.
Right.
It was mentioned multiple times in different ways, which was just really tough to follow and understand. I had a coworker ask me a question that's really interesting. I know we'll never find this out. What did Rolando get?
I've been asked, James. I've been asking that for 2 years. What was that deal? Because they said that he had a good deal. Someone said that at one of those rap sessions we were at, that Rolando made progress.
They had said it at the convention as part of the charges.
Yeah, and I heard, I'm sure you heard that Brian wasn't happy with that, and Rolando was asked to leave. I mean, that's Mike's charges. Look, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but from the outside looking in, those charges hold some water after this 2 years if there's a real investigation, if we make it through all this. So,
and that's maybe why we need to start looking at a situation where it's just not one person negotiating these things. I know it has been mentioned, the executive staff doing it, because we don't know what Rolando said. Only 3 people that will know would be Tolino, Rolando, and Renfro, and it will never come out.
I think was Barner there too, I believe.
No, they didn't let him in. They didn't. It was Barner and Rolando. Yeah, it was Barner and Rolando.
Barner was
so,
there.
And then Renfro found out when he got back,
and he was pissed. Allegedly, he was pissed about it.
It's only 4 people. Maybe there's a situation to make sure that our rights are being protected and our best interest is out there. The executive staff has to be informed through the whole way. And the only way to get that done is to pass it through branches, to pass it through state resolutions, to pass it all the way to the convention in 2026. But as we've learned at this past convention, these younger cats are getting smarter and smarter and more organized in doing these things. And I think the NALC needs to realize that these younger carriers are learning their shit. They're learning how to do this stuff. They're communicating with each other. And that's something that needs to be looked at fully to see if this is an angle to go.
James, can I just close on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that he came on a Saturday night, now I know he's got a lot going on and he's probably stuck at home anyways. He sat with you guys for almost 3 hours on a Saturday night. That was the biggest concession, because I don't know if you remember on Sunday, I asked Mike, has he ever apologized, said my bad? And Mike said no, he just doesn't have it in him. I think his way of doing that was saying, I know these 3 or 2 younger carriers and one guy that's been around for 18 years. They got a podcast. I know these guys have followers. That was his concession. And I think he might have expected you guys to get nervous, but you guys pushed back against him, and that's what we need. Tyler Vassar at the Friday part of the convention, he's not used to that, and that's what we need. And I think I'm hopeful that we'll still be around, and if we are, I really love the younger people stepping up. And I'm only 44 years old, so I'm not going anywhere, but this is the change we need, and it's starting to happen. I see it everywhere now. So I just wanted to say you guys do a hell of a job. I know it's tough. Keep it up. I'm thanking you guys because it's really good to see. So.
And real quick, I did want to say that
I Venmo'd Greg $20 to say that, so thank you. I appreciate it. Oh shit, Mike. All right.
He came on for 3 hours, and I think we have to give him credit for that. And I did have a lot of carriers come up to me saying, I view him a little bit differently. I'm angry still, but I view him a little bit differently in the situation. And to make sure everybody understands the way that went, because I have to give him credit for this. We had read that WebEx meeting. I had mentioned in the WebEx, would he be willing to come on some podcasts? He had answered yes, because he had mentioned the NALC podcast. In my opinion, not many people listen to the You Are the Current Resident. And if you wanted to get the message out, it would be through other podcast platforms, not even specifically us. He had said, yes, I'm willing to do that. So on a skim, I shot him an email and it said, I'd ask that question. I have a podcast, 2 other co-hosts. Would you be interested in coming on? I will not, we're not here to make you look bad, make you look like a fool. We're not trying to look like fools. if you want your message out, this is the best way to do it. And to give him all credit in the world, he read that at 4:00 in the afternoon. He messaged me at 5:00 around. I got a message at 5:00 from him saying, how does 7:30 tonight work? If not, I'm willing to do tomorrow. I think me, Chris, and John, not speaking for them, thought we were looking at maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. He had gotten off a meeting that he came right to us. And then after us, I think we got down to 11:45, went to another meeting. So we have to give credit where credit's due in regards to he came on. I don't think there's any question he refused to answer. He was relatively open. He relatively, I believe, had a very good time. I had talked to him once or twice since then. It seemed like, I don't know if it's a change of attitude, a change that was always there, or what. They are trying to be more open and talking and getting out there. And hell, that's the best for all of us. I wish they had been always doing this. But you got to give him credit for coming on, staying on for 3 hours, answering everything. And he wasn't prepped. There was no send him questions. He answered everything that we sent him, and he had no clue what we were asking.
I want to jump on that, piggyback that one. For full transparency, the first interview we did with Mike Cariff was completely raw. No subject matter was presented. No questions were presented. The James Henry interview we did, we sent him a few questions beforehand. That way he didn't just filibuster and like drag on the interview. And we also sent him a couple of subject matters we'll talk about. So he was more prepped than anyone. And then with Renfro, I thought it was a 1 hour interview. I was sleeping and Capone woke me up.
Same.
And then like we went raw. Like I went into it. We talked.
You muted yourself. There you go.
We talked about striking. We talked about like serious issues, and a couple of coworkers, one in here, not coworkers, but a couple of postal workers have brought this up. Like, could we ever envision Cariff or Henry answering those questions on the fly in front of a live studio audience? And that's a good question people need to ask themselves deep down. And I give Renfro a lot of credit for not signing off when I was pushing him on the concessions, pushing him on striking, the 22-minute office time. There's a lot of pushing back, and he didn't just say, all right, this is it. And he just stayed with it. And it went longer than we actually anticipated.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll leave it on that one.
And with a comment that the best carrier, sorry, real quick, chat, in the chat room, best carrier said debate. So we are opening up as this podcast, once we get through this whole Trump thing, if Henry, Cariff, or Renfro would love to come on, we would love to host a debate. We will be your moderators. We are very good moderators. You've all interviewed with us. You see that we are a delight to talk to. We are putting the offer out to each and every one of you guys. If you guys want to come on and have a debate, 2 of you guys, 3 of you guys, we will be here whenever.
It'll be a triple threat match, whatever it takes. We'll do it. So you heard it here. The Next Generation Carriers podcast. Come on our show. Come on our stream and have it out. But we did ask Renfro that. Renfro kind of said, sure, I think he kind of did he kind of agree to it? Like that was it. It was
he said once this is all done, his main concern was the idea of politicking while this is going on, and he had made a point of saying, we should not be talking about the elections right now until we're through with this, because anybody who's doing that is focusing more on the election than the post office. But from my understanding is he didn't say he was against the idea. Once we got through a lot of this headache, he did not say no.
Yep. One thing I want to point out too is that why this change of heart? And I'm just my opinion. I think he read the writing on the wall when 96% said yes last time, 71 said no, and they came on was 50% higher. He's smart enough. I'll give him this. Renfro ain't stupid. He makes bad decisions. I'll say that. But he realized my ass is on the line. I need to change tune. I'm going to be the fighter you want. We couldn't get him to do open bargaining. He was violating the national convention stuff about him having to give reports. All of a sudden, every day we're getting an update. I'm asking for this. I'm asking for that. Like, that's what we fought for in Boston, to do open bargaining. We got open bargaining. Also, when I mentioned on the thing, like, how come people can't comment on any of your social media posts? Now they changed that today, I think. Right now, you can comment on it. I think they finally have realized he realized I better change my tune. I'll have to eat some crow, but I think that's just my take.
I got a mind fuck for you. I'm gonna get crucified for this. But what if, follow this, in a crazy world where he's a Southern boy, he listens to doom metal as we told us. What if he was always a fighter and it was handlers or somebody on the staff? Brian, you can't do that. Brian, you. And then we get to this point where it's so bad, it's like, oh yeah, get right in. Let's go. All excited. Oh, see, they mentioned the comments. Told you guys, got to put the comments back up. In a crazy world, imagine if it was that situation where it's been this group of handlers are just, no, well, we don't want to fight that.
I think it's more likely.
For making that comment, but I thought it'd be a funny world.
I think it's more likely that his handler said, "Hey, you better start doing something differently."
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. You're up for re-election, buddy. We have Josh. Josh, let me unmute you for 1 sec. Wow. If you could just make sure to mention your name and what local you're from.
Can you hear me okay?
We got you.
Josh Finnegan. I'm 9-year letter carrier out of branch 1197, Southern Illinois.
Welcome, brother. All right, what do you got?
Thanks for letting me speak. I just wanted to get your guys' view on, Cariff was talking about the work rules and how I didn't really quite understand if those were going to stay in the expedited arbitration or not. The way Renfro talked on your last podcast, he basically acted like there was nothing wrong with them. He said there's no concessions and whatnot. So I'm still thinking Renfro is probably going to want to keep those work rules. And I just want to know if you guys think Mike really knows if he's going to do that or not.
So I'm with Josh, and the way I understood is, again, if what Mike Cariff is saying, what I thought he was saying is, that is up to Renfro to decide to keep the old contract and add new financials, or use the TA we just voted down and update the financials. And that would be his decision on how to expedite that, along with the post office. And Mike's point is the last contract has obviously needs things. It needs to be fixed. The new TA, in regards to historic, it was historic in regards to the 1260, the loss of office time, huge things that were going to affect and change our job. That which angle are they going? And maybe it needs to be us to inform them that the past agreement served us fine for right now. You guys want to look into certain things? Now isn't the time. Keep the last contract so we have the contract, negotiate the new financials, and let's go under the terms we had. There's obviously things that need to be fixed at some point, but right now isn't the time.
Hey, James, I got something to add on that. Did you notice during the Renfro podcast that he was talking about the Article 8 changes in the present tense? We can do these overtime rules. We can do the overtime equitability. So it's almost like he's already making plans to accept some of those changes.
Well, I mean, so in a beautiful world, that whole idea of being able to say, I only want to do my NS day, I only want to do overtime on this. Beautiful world, it's great. As a rep, and Paul, I can guarantee you'll agree on this, equitability is going to be a disaster trying to figure out this and dealing with an office of guys that will all want overtime and, oh, I should have been this because of this. There seemed to be no answers on how it would play out, and it just seems like a mess. I talked to one of my supervisors. We're discussing him getting the overtime list correct that we have now, and I said, they fucking changed this. We're going to have 2 overtime lists. What?
3.
Yeah.
Three, because you can get on both lists. So there's no way you can't equalize somebody if you're on that list with both. What if you're on the non-skid days and the daily overtime, and someone is just on the non-skid days? How do you choose who gets the overtime if they're in 2 different?
And half the bosses don't even know how to use OT admin yet.
Right.
And that's the program that a lot of us are using, that the arbitrators have said that they recommend we use. We're going to add 3 lists to OT admin when they can't get one list correct on OT admin. I had to sit there and read the manual myself to explain to my supervisor how to make sure it was being done correctly, because none of them know fully how the program works. But we're going to add 2 more lists to that and just hope for hell it works.
Right. So that's why, to Josh's question, I am deathly afraid that Renfro is still arrogant enough to think that those work rule changes are something that everybody likes, and we just wanted the 1.3 changed. And I think he's probably going to still agree to those things behind closed doors. I think you're right. We need to communicate that that's not what we want. The membership voted down the entire agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. That needs to be what we do, and we need to start getting that message out and make sure that they understand that. And I think, like, a lot of us didn't know that, and I'm wondering why we're just finding this out now, that is the option. It's between those two options, and we got to make our voice known of which option we want, and make sure we're letting it known we don't want these new work rules.
But we have to do it in a way that we don't look like assholes either, because we want to support him fighting for what we do want, but we also have to go to him and say, listen, don't fuck us over either at the same time. So you got to support him in the fight, but you also have to kind of pull him back a little bit and say, don't do anything stupid while you're there.
Yep, Napoleon attacking Russia, fighting a battle on two fronts. That is where we're at with this. And I just, we got a long road, and getting this message out. Again, I still am stuck on the fact of why didn't the NALC get all these messages out before? We know we know that they do know how to use social media. They do know how to get their name out in the press. They do know how to do these things. Why weren't they being done before? Along.
I'd say this. My take is that they haven't fought since 1999, right? I mean, the Vincent Sombrado, that was 1970 and 1999 era. That's now
06, the 5-day work week. We fought like hell in 06 for the 5-day work week.
So it's been 19 years. These people, they don't fight. They have their comfortable, they're not going to suffer from the 1260 rule. They don't have to worry about stationary events. They're not getting harassed. They're not going to get a 1.3% raise. They don't work in a 120-degree trailer, or for us in the winter in New England, they're not working in inside of an LLV that's 10 degrees. They are very far removed from what we go through every day. So if we get a bad deal, what's it to them? They don't struggle like us. Now, finally, I mean, I think I'll trust Tolino. I'm sure when Tolino said in that line, we both felt this TA was more than fair. I bet they really believe what they gave us was fair. That's the bubble they live in. They actually believe it was fine. And that's why they're shocked. And for his own political preservation, I think this is why Renfro is giving a shit now. Oh, shit, now I got to do something. And I think this whole attack on the postal service privatization, it works out. I don't think it was planned, but I think it works out to help him give him cover. Because we do, unfortunately, I will help Renfro defend the post office from any attacks. Once that threat is done, he's out in 2026. I'm voting it. Like, that's my thing. Like, we can support him for now, but once it's over, I'll be there with a U-Haul and a dolly to show him the way out the door, because, that's just the guy we got right now. Fine, but and all the BAs that went along with it, you're going to. Like, this is the time we got to make the change. And it's us at the bottom, us, everyone on this Zoom, everyone who's getting involved, us at the bottom, we have to do this. And this is the first step, but also vote out the people at the top.
Chris, you're absolutely right, because John was hitting Renfro on the fact that he didn't understand the stress that the fixed office time was bringing on the workroom floor, because he isn't on the workroom floor. It's just a number that they're going to use if they do a root evaluation process. That's not at all what it is. Every day, someone's going to come around and say your fixed office time has changed. But they don't.
Your union agreed to it. Your union agreed. Yeah. 50 minutes. Your union agreed. It's always the thing you hear. I know it's not on the topic right now, but it just always boggles my mind. He had mentioned, well, we don't want to discuss the uniform things. I do not feel that it should be something we're negotiating for. Absolutely, we shouldn't be negotiating for it. He had promised us at rap sessions that it was going to be figured out. It wasn't going to be a $37 increase. Post office wants it. The union wants it. We're all in agreement. Shouldn't have that been the easiest thing to have worked out? And instead they come back with $37 increase. You can carry it for 2 years. If the easiest part of the contract that both of you agree wants to be fixed, and that's what you come out with, what's our hope for anything else in our negotiating? And if you don't want to negotiate it, then why'd you come out with $37 a year? You did negotiate it at that point.
Yeah. I really think that Renfro, going it alone, I think that you're right. It was the shell game where they just kept moving things around and saying, we'll offer you this, but we're taking this back. And when they figured out that he wasn't going to push for arbitration, they're like, well, the longer we hold this guy out, the more money we're saving. And it's not going to hurt our case because he's not going to go to arbitration. He's not going to push us, and he's not going to fight. So that's what we ended up with. But you're right. You're right. I mean, some of these things should have been easy concessions. The uniform allotment program. You know, obviously you want carriers to be dressed for the job, but they can't afford it.
And here's another thing: the clerks are, I believe, are up, right? APWU is up now, or they're going to be up in the next month. What's rule at?
Soon.
I think the APWU is up now. Rule, I think, is almost up in the next month or so. How is that going to affect our negotiating stance now that they're going to be negotiating? Is there a chance we get undercut by one of the other unions that they accept 1.3? And then we go to the arbitrator and it's, well, these guys accepted 1.3. Dealing with this was an epic failure because now we're in a situation where not only competing against the post office, we're competing against the government. Now we're competing against the other unions, and they're going to try to hold us to stance of whatever the other unions, or they're going to hold off the other unions until we agree to something, and we're negotiating. They're negotiating against us.
Yeah, I think that's
we're dragging everybody down. That's what Renfro's doing. He's screwing all the other unions over. Yeah. This is why we should be bargaining at the same time together. I know some older people have been around a while say that's a bad. If anyone has any opinions on why that was, we got rid of it, but. Stronger together, that's one big union, right?
So the thing I was always led to believe, or I've been told by the old timers, the reason we stopped negotiating together was around the work harder, make more pay campaign, is in regards to that the clerks were making the same or as more as us, more than us, and we had argued that we're out there, our light duty is their work. And what was happening is the other unions were undercutting us during negotiations to get deals that paid them, but was not recognizing the fact that we needed to get paid more for what we do. And at that point, we had started splitting off. Paul maybe have a better idea of that. I've only been here for 18 years, but that was the thing I was always explained.
Yeah, but what I was actually kind of going back in time for a second, because when we talk about the whole negotiating the expedited arbitration, we lose the opportunity to bring witnesses up, like you said, to talk about the working conditions, to talk about Eugene Gates, to talk about carriers getting shot on the streets with their arrow keys. We lose the ability to call witnesses up. I mean, I think Renfro was wrong. I might be wrong. I do a lot of advocating for the NALC, but when we go to an arbitration, we can't bring up any prior agreements to the arbitration room. So he's saying that they can bring up the TA and start from there. He's already said that we don't do that. We start from scratch. So when he was on your show saying that we're gonna show him this TA, we're gonna show him where we were at, you can't do that. You can't do that. You're starting from scratch, and if you've got no witnesses, you've got one arbitrator, and you don't have your arbitrator to try to sway him. I mean, we're just going to be pretty much. We could get a really shit deal. We could get that 1.3, and I really think at the end of the day, Renfro is going to say, I got you your 1.3, but we didn't get privatized, so you're welcome.
Or what if we'll give you the 1.3, we couldn't get the $1,000 for the top step anymore, and back pay is cut in half. I understand a lot of guys that are younger don't fully understand the impact of the top step, $1,000 added to it. But the point of that is to put us at 80% of what UPS makes by November of 2026. In November 2026, UPS is at $48 an hour. That extra 1,000 plus the 1.3s bring us top scale, I think, to 44. And that keeps us within 80% of what UPS makes. The idea would be, or their idea is, through following years, we would get all those steps to be in that position. And again, we're all working towards the top scale. But say we lose the $1,000 at the top scale. Say we only get one step removed and we got the 1.3. It could go a lot of different ways. And having that one arbitrator, like you said, there's no other arbitrators to try to sway his decision, no evidence. I don't know how many. Are they going to even bring in any witnesses at all? Or is it just go in there?
Hearing dates. I don't think they're allowed to call witnesses. I don't think they're allowed. I may be wrong because I only deal with regional arbitrations. But from what I've seen, an expedited case, you can bring in a lot of evidence, but you can't bring in witnesses and you can't bring in prior agreements. So
my question is in regards to I was under the understanding that the way this works is there's a mediation during full-time arbitration where Renfro goes in with their guys and it's a mediation before the arbitration. Work out as many deals as you can before the arbitration. At that point, our lawyers would go in front of the arbitrator. what happens in this situation? Because he said it is mediation and the arbitration at the same time. You're doing them together, like back and back. Who is it still our lawyers? I hope to God it's our lawyers still. And what is he in this process?
So I sure hope it's our lawyers too, but the way I see this happening is it's going to be probably a couple of days of opening statements. We're going to, our lawyers, hopefully our lawyers are going to plead our case, and maybe they'll get to talk about some of the stuff, but we won't have witnesses. Then there'll be a little bit of testimony. There might be testimony from Renfro, maybe. I don't know how many witnesses they'll allow. He might be able to talk a little bit, and then there'll be closing statements. But it's going to be a very short, abbreviated process. I mean, when we do expedited arbitrations for like LMOUs and stuff like that, it's over in a snap. It's a very informal setting. I mean,
that was my feeling about this. Are we talking about a month? I mean, a lot of us are playing rallies March 23rd. Is there a chance the contract is out before March 23rd because they're rushing to get this done? And hey, Nolan's available 2 hours on Thursday. Get in there. Nolan's available 2 hours on Friday. Get in there. He's available for a half day on Monday. 5 sessions in 1 week, half sessions. Bam, get it out. Get him to get a decision within a couple of weeks. Nolan, we need you to do this fast because we want to make sure we have a contract on the table. And they're rushing a contract within a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months.
That's what my time frame is going to be. I would say within 3 months we're going to see something. I don't think they're going to get it out much quicker than that, but I think within 3 months we'll see something. And I predict that we're not going to be awfully happy with it. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
All right, so we have Jordan on Stack. So if you could just unmute and just mention your name and what local you're in, and also for everybody else, if you do want to comment, we are recording this for the podcast, so just be prepared. If you don't want to be recorded, then I don't know, just ask a question or something. But yeah, so Jordan, you got the floor, my man.
All right, word. You hear me, right? Good. All right. So my name's Jordan. I'm out of Branch 50 in Central Pennsylvania. And, one of the things I was thinking is just like, why couldn't, we're going back to the uniforms here. Why can't the union just have the the uniform vendors post in the postal record so they can have competitive rates instead of, there's like a million goddamn uniform sites you have to go out and find. And, Galls owns like 75% of them. But those competitive, other guys, they can have those side to side, pricing. And then in that way, maybe, probably not, that would be able to force their hand to like drop the rates because we'll be able to like see, their prices. They used to do that way back in the day in the postal record. I mean, like way, way, way back. I'm talking like, 1920s, 30s, 40s. Why can't they just do it again? Like, is there something you think like the bylaws or what's up?
No, I've not seen anything. First off, I just want to say it is insane to me that we have people from Illinois, people from Pennsylvania. I saw somebody from Puerto Rico on this. Mind blown that anybody is listening to this outside of our friends. So I want to give you guys all love and say thank you.
We love you.
My mind
all
is
of you.
blown sometimes in regards to this. From my understanding, I don't know the manufacturer or company name, but they own a huge, insane swath of the companies. I think I had heard most of the major companies were all owned by one vendor now, and that we're dealing with the situation of every time they give us more money, the vendors raise by more money. I would be interested in seeing this report. I read it many years ago, and if this is true, it kind of flips everything on its head. That the post office, again, I read this report. I don't remember where I saw it. I have to look it up again. But the post office had gone to some of these companies and said, hey, if you want to sell of our product, we need a higher percentage back. There's something in regards to how the percentages work on the ability for Rocky to be one of our companies. And that was why Nike dropped out. It may have been the post office. Maybe it was the vendors companies. But a lot of this has to do with percentages. We had companies drop out or start charging more money because they had to pay higher percentage. Now, union made is what we do. Official postal uniforms will always be union made. But with one company buying over all the vendors, we put ourselves in a tough position because it's just constant negotiating against the same guy. And This company raises its price. This company also raises its price at the same amount.
Yeah. And it's definitely, there's still a handful of those independent vendors. If they're able to like advertise their pricing, occasionally they'll get like send pamphlets out to the office. You'll find them at your case sometimes, but like if they're able, or even just go directly to the manufacturer, maybe like Thorogood post ad about their boots or something like that, buy directly from, the manufacturer.
That was one of the options he told us that was going to happen in the wrap session. He said that there was a plan worked out that the post office or the union, I believe the last plan I'd heard is that the union was going to be in charge of it, and the union was going to work directly with the manufacturers. The union would then get the uniforms. When you start, here's 2 shirts, here's 2 pairs of pants, here's a shoe, and then the post office, again, or they'd been discussed about the post office and the union both doing this at different times, would be the ones in charge of the uniforms. And we would buy directly from the vendors, basically cutting out those other companies completely. I don't know why there isn't any going to those other companies and saying, hey, look, your time's up. We're going to be doing this soon enough. Your business model is completely gone the second we decide to do this ourselves. Why don't you start lowering the prices and let's get back there and work out that Citibank shit. When I heard for the first time that unspent money goes back to Citibank and they get to keep it, do you know how many carriers I know that maybe forget to use their allowance? Senior guys that don't use it, guys that don't use the full allowance. Citibank gets to keep that money.
Is this
how many millions are Citibank's getting off of our uniform allowance?
Is this actually confirmed, like above you? Can we get someone to like confirm that? Because
Renfro said it, dude. In like a bunch of rap sessions, he's like, "Oh, Citibank gets to keep the money if you don't spend it in a." Yeah.
Insane. How many
private corporations get to profit off of it? I can't believe it. Wow.
Out of 260,000 employees getting uniform allowances, how much money do they keep? Even if it was $5 every single carrier, it's millions. They're getting millions off of money we're not spending that we could use to contact those vendors and let the prices lowered. Just completely insane, making Citibank richer while we're spending more for less uniforms.
Yeah, I think it was Mike Cariff said it, maybe some other podcast, which I don't recommend any other podcast but ours. But I would say this. I think he had an idea like the military. When you sign up for the military, the military has their own uniforms. Since we have to wear them, why are we spending it? They give you your uniforms. Here's your shoes. Here's your coat. Here's your boots. Here's everything you're going to need. There you go. It's all yours. Now, the post office itself could collectively bargain using its massive purchasing power to bargain with one monopoly or a series of vendors. And they're like, all right, this is what we're going to pay. This is and we're going to do, and we will be your number one employer. And that's because you and I can't collectively bargain on our own, but like, they should do it. If we have to wear it, get it for us. Why are we doing it? Because how many of us I have to buy my own boots because the boots they give me are shit. It is also, they're expensive and the quality is crap. Like, I'm having pants that like rip off, like on the sides, my boots that made by Reebok, like it's made by Reebok, yet like the soles have been tearing off after 3 months. Like,
anybody got the bone spurs in the heels? Because the heels of those shoes are so tough. You get bone spurs at the bottom of it. We're walking in these things, some of us up to 14 miles a day,
right?
For the shittiest shoes ever. And then
they cost $900 too. Good.
I will say the Rocky boots. This is a throw out for Rocky. The Rocky boots last me. I'll have those for a year or two. The shoes gone in 6 months. The pants stained. The shirts stained. There is nothing that can save the staining from those shirts. No. And I hate to throw it out again, another unpopular opinion. That light blue stains worse than everything. Let's work on a different material or something so we don't have to walk around with stains right here from parcels and stains right here from the straps of your bag.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this has been, like I said, we're paying more for less terrible quality stuff. Remember like how professional sports players were getting their shirts from Nike? Remember they were like see-through? Like, remember anyone seeing that? Because they're trying to squeeze profit out of anything.
When they're selling off the USPS logo to companies. They were on runways. I remember seeing a uniform. It was when I was carrying JP. That it was a rain jacket that had where you could connect your headphones into it and it has a wire that goes up so you don't get tangled. I'm like, hold on, you don't want us to wear anything on the street. The post office is selling postal uniforms that are on runways that have headphone attachments, and we got shit uniforms.
Oh my God. So
and I don't know who's wearing, unless you're part of House of Pain, who's wearing any USPS apparel. For your younger kids, watch the video of Jump Around.
There you go. Kids, consult your local libraries if you want to know about the reference James Capone just made for the rest of the show. All right. We'll make some Adidas tracksuit pants jokes later, but all right. I think we got everyone else. Oh, anyone comments, questions, anything else for the pod? If you wanna, we're probably gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. We won't make any more House of Pain references. Ask your parents, kids, if you want that. It's pretty
All
good.
the House of Pain references.
There we go. All right. Yeah. So we're gonna probably be on next episode. Will probably is that Johnny? Is it Chris and we might be. I know we're working on it, but Chris Pennick from Build the Fighting NALC and Branch 9 might be coming on, and Tim Bash. So we might have those two brothers coming on for it. And also, we got so many things we're planning up right there, but that's probably the next episode we're looking at. So we'll let you know. I'll be at the I'll be at the Beyond Day Fumble training next week, so I won't be around.
I'm praying that Corey Walton's our next one before we lose this 300 limit and we can actually pack another.
Oh yeah, we don't have much time. I know. Corey, we can get Corey in there. That'd be great. So all right. Awesome. Oh, also want to mention this too. If you are in the Boston, if you're in the New England area, not just Boston, we're going to be having a rally. We just have to confirm the location. We got the permit and everything, but we're probably going to get it Sunday, March 23rd, Boston Common at the Parkman Bandstand from 1 to 3 o'clock. We're going to have our rally there. I guess we're going with Fight Like Hell, defend the Postal Service, which, okay, we're going to name it that. But we're going to have it there. So you get to meet Capone and myself in about
1,000 people. 1,000 people.
998 more people are coming down.
Yeah,
all right.
there will be more than in Washington. I didn't get the count.
Yep.
Yes, Paul will be there. I didn't count how many were at the Washington rally. I think if I had to guess, there's around 250. We will have 1,000 people there. So I need all of you guys there to, not make me look like a fool for saying 1,000 people.
Right. That's it. We need 997 of you. All right. We want to make Brian Renfro look like he can't organize the way to wet paper bag. Boston is going to put New England, is going to put him to shame. So be there. Show up at 12:45. We're going to have waters, and that's probably it. I don't know, because I don't need a permit for snacks, but bring a lunch. Bring your friends. Bring your wife. Bring your girlfriend. Bring both of them. Whatever it takes. Get them to come there Sunday, March 23rd. At
250th anniversary of the post office this year. 1775, I believe it started in Philly, not Boston. However, we all know all the battles were in Boston. So we will have another battleground on the Boston Common at the 250th anniversary of the post office, where we fight them for not to privatize the post office. There will be red shirts, Paul. I've talked to Renfro about it. There'll be banners and red shirts and all the glory for everybody.
There we are.
Come.
Perfect.
The Boston branch, what was that, 34? They're on board?
Yep. Yeah, so Boston branch officially is they're the of all of them. I'm not shaming any other local mass. There's some great ones, 334, 762. 764, I'm sorry, Capone. I'll get your local right. I'm 2 out of 3 numbers. There was some great ones. There's some other locals in Massachusetts.
764.
That's right. Some other locals in Massachusetts, you're letting us down, but thank God New Hampshire holding the banner high. Thank you, Paul, for leading it. Branch 72, which that's easy. It's only 2 numbers. That's why I remember it. But I'm just saying, we got some good people on board. 78. I love everyone here for not me getting things slightly wrong. But anyway, so we're going to have it there. So please join us. Branch 34 did make it official. They got a committee. They're doing a lot of the groundwork there. President Rooney, has been an early supporter of him. I know he's up for re-election. I don't want to dip my toe in any local politics, but he did come to he was the only, one of the bigger presidents there to come to a rally in October. So, so we're looking forward to it on Sunday, and they're going to really help us out. So please if there's not one near you, if there's no rally, organize one. If you need help organizing, send us an email, bfnboston@gmail.com. We will help you. This is what I love doing. We like organizing it. We need this to be a movement. So please do reach out to us if you need help. We know people. I always say we know people in low places. That's us. We're going to help you out with that. So yeah, please do reach out. bfnboston@gmail.com if you need help.
And what would you rather do than hang out on a Sunday with a bunch of letter carriers? I mean, come on now. That
Right?
seems like a Sunday and a half.
That'd be the best day. I can't think of a better day. So yes, do bring out there. Bring your family. It's a family-friendly event. I will not swear if you come to the Boston one. I'm working on it, so it's going to be great. So, all right, everyone. Thank you very much for.
The kids from Boston, they're used to swearing.
I mean, it's Boston. There's no way I'm not going to swear. I'm lying. Good luck.
For March 23rd, don't just keep the letter carriers. Make sure you reach out to your rural carriers, your mail handlers, and your clerks. Make sure this is as big as possible because that's literally 3 weeks away. And in the past 3 days, we've seen drastic news. So God knows what's going to happen in the next 3 weeks. So prepare to fight like hell, like legit. Don't leave it up to the suits and ties in our union to defend us. We did that for the last 700 days and we got dog shit. Own your union. Bring a motion to your union hall to endorse the call to action for March 23rd. It's a simple motion. That's literally all you need to do. And then if you needed a budget, try to do around $250. I did one down in Naples, Florida, $250, and it kind of worked out well. Naples, Florida's on board. Boston's on board. Seattle's on board. Minneapolis is on board. Minneapolis is, I believe they're trying to organize to do it out at the State House. The Boston Commons across the street from the State House. Sadly, Naples, Florida is nowhere near the State House of Florida. We just have Fifth Ave with all the billionaires. Maybe we'll just go marching on their doors.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. No, the whole thing is if there's anyone listening at this point besides the 40 people in the chat, take ownership of your union. It is our union. We got to make sure we defend it. So March 23rd is a good way to flex our muscle. If you've never done something like this before, start talking to your coworkers on how they want to fight back and how you want to fight back. Don't wait for the fight. The fight's already here. And I'll edit that.